This is how I saved over £150 on afternoon tea for my friend's baby shower. When I priced up ordering afternoon tea food in from Marks and Spencer's or Sainsbury's, I was looking at least a £200 spend. But you can make it so much cheaper at home and arguably so much more delicious. So let's see what's on my menu. We are going to be enjoying a selection of sandwiches. I'm doing a mix of finger sandwiches and filled brioche rolls. The sandwich fillers are egg mayonnaise with a slightly more grown-up version for the adults, ham and cheese, boursin and cucumber, and coronation chicken. I'm making a mix of finger sandwiches, brioche buns, and bagels. We are also having some homemade sausage rolls on the side, and of course some scones with jam and clotted cream. And to finish up, we will be enjoying a blueberry and white chocolate tray bake, along with a really tasty dark chocolate, pistachio and raspberry cheesecake. So let me show you how I created it. I'm so excited to be hosting this baby shower. I've been friends with the mum since I was 4 years old, and she is so good at cooking. I am delighted she is bringing her famous baked raspberry cheesecake to the baby shower, but there was no way we could host a party for her without making delicious homemade treats. And if we had gone out for this meal, we would have been looking at least £25 a head for the adults. And actually, we're going to have so much better a time at home where the kids can just run free and we can just have a lovely catch up. So to start off with, I've got a bit of a bread making station going on here, and I'm making my bagel dough and my brioche dough so that they can start proving whilst I make the other recipes. They will prove whilst I get on with making the scones and the cakes. Now, I feel like it wouldn't be a cooking session for my channel without the slow cooker involved. And at the moment, I am slow cooking a ham, which I will shred up and use in the sandwiches. I've also got a chicken roasting in the oven, as everybody loves my mum's signature coronation chicken, and so that definitely had to be on the menu. So I'm now going to have a go at making some brioche buns. Now, I've never actually had a go at making these before, but my kids do quite like the milk bread that I make, and I feel like there's probably some crossover with the type of dough that is involved in a brioche. So I'm going to give it a try, as I just thought this would make the afternoon tea look a little bit more fancy. And it's amazing, I looked at buying little brioche sandwiches on M&S afternoon tea food to order. And for 9 filled brioche rolls, it was something like £25, which just seems so crazy when really there's not that many complicated ingredients that go into making a brioche. I guess it's just the time it takes. So let's give this a go and see how this experiment works out. If you're familiar with my channel, you'll know that I love using my Thermomix for making bread. I'm really bad at making bread. Maybe I've not got very good technique at kneading it, I'm not sure. But yes, this machine really helps me make bread. So I'm doubling up the recipe here, just so I can be a little bit more time efficient. Now, I don't know about you, but I quite like it when people are coming over, because it's a good excuse to have a go at making things that we wouldn't normally have. And I thought brioche is quite a fun thing to try making, and if I can crack doing this, that will be fantastic, as the kids love a brioche burger bun. Whilst my brioche ingredients heat through, I thought I'd show you something fun that we're doing for the baby shower. So we started doing this for friends' baby showers a few years ago, and I just think it's such a lovely idea. So instead of giving like nappies or gifts like that, every person who's coming to the baby shower had to pick their favourite childhood book to pass on to the mum-to-be, so that her child will have a library of books from when they're first born. And these are the books that we chose. So my husband chose The Tiger That Came to Tea. His original choice was Harry Potter, which I don't think was the most age appropriate for a little baby, maybe when they're a bit older. And I went for Old Bear. Now, I don't know if anybody remembers this, but I love the pictures in this book. It's just so nostalgic, this book. So hopefully she will like our selections. I'm now going to prepare some extra bits and bobs. And first up, this really easy chia jam, which will go in the cheesecake. So all you need to do is take some frozen raspberries and microwave them, then give them a mash, and then finally add in some chia seeds, which will soak up all of the moisture. Now, I don't add any extra sugar to mine, but you could add a little bit of maple syrup if you wanted to at this stage. So that will go into the fridge and chill. Then I'm going to pop it in my cheesecake. Next, I'm going to continue with my bread making and get these brioche buns proving. And hopefully they will rise nicely and will look great by the time I get them out and check on them. I'm also going to shred a chicken, which I've roasted. Now, we steamed this chicken. We cooked it in quite a bit of water because we didn't need a crispy skin. And this will form the base of my coronation chicken. And it's also really handy to have some roasted chicken just to have for our own lunches. So now I'm going to make the coronation chicken. Now, my mum is so good at making this recipe, and it's such a great one to make for this sort of occasion, because actually if you make it the day before, it goes really, really nice overnight in the fridge. And it's really simple. You simply take some mayonnaise, add in some curry powder and some mango chutney. Now, I had some problems opening this jar. My friend taught me a really good trick. If you get a rubber glove, you'll notice the lid just pops off really easily. So I'm adding the mango chutney in, followed by my curry powder. And you can really make this to suit your taste. If you want it sweeter, you could add more chutney. If you want it spicy, you could add more curry powder. But it's really important to just give it a taste once you've mixed it up, just so you can work out if you do need to add anything extra of those 3 ingredients before you put the chicken into it. So once it's had a good stir and a taste, then you're ready to put in your chicken. And I like to put some sultanas in mine too, as they take on some of the flavour of the sauce that you've made and go really, really nice in the fridge. You can also do this with chickpeas if you wanted to make a vegetarian version, but our vegetarian friend couldn't make the party, so we just went for a chicken version this time. Now, after one last taste, I actually thought mine needed a little bit more mango chutney. So I've popped that in, given it one last stir, and now this will go into the fridge until I need it tomorrow for when I'm assembling my bagels. So that's the end of my baking session complete. I've got my tray bake ready, a mountain of bagels, lots of brioche buns, which look really, really tasty, and my scones. I've also got my ham that has finished slow cooking, and I've got my coronation chicken sandwich fillet in the fridge, ready to go into the bagels tomorrow. I'm going to make a tray bake now to have as one of the sweet options. And this is actually a Thermomix recipe that I'm following. But I actually really love the idea at the beginning of it. So you essentially peel an orange like this, and you can pop it into your food processor with a bit of granulated sugar and just blitz it up and blitz it up. And you get this really nice like orange sugar, which is the base of the flavour to this cake. And it's such a good trick. I keep meaning to try and do it when I make a lemon cake, but I forgot last time. So yeah, it's quite a handy trick, and you wouldn't need a Thermomix to do it, I think, so long as you popped it in your food processor. So I'm going to take this and whiz it up with some sugar, and I'll show you what it looks like. This is how it now looks once it's come out of the Thermomix or out of your food processor. So it's like a kind of orangey powder. It's so tasty. So I've made up a cake batter, just adding some chopped white chocolate to it. Oh my goodness. Oh dearie me. Let's try that again. Now, normally my baking doesn't have a lot of refined sugar in it, and doesn't usually contain this much chocolate. So the kids quite like it when I make this cake when people come over, because it is a lot sweeter than the cakes that they're used to. There we go. So now I'm going to just line this tin. Pop my batter in. And the reason I did this cake is I thought I could cut it into quite small squares, which would work quite well for an afternoon tea. Just be something nice to have alongside the other stuff that we're having. Sometimes it's a bit easier to make a tray bake than trying to do a full-blown like 3-tier cake or something complicated like that. And the great thing about this is it doesn't really need decorating. I just need to put a bit of icing sugar on the top. There we go. So now all that's left to do is add in the blueberries. When I'm doing baking, I quite like using frozen blueberries as just a bit more cost effective. This obviously is nice with fresh blueberries, but yeah, I spend enough money on blueberries as it is without having to buy more fresh blueberries. And you just need to sort of spread them out a bit. I feel like some people would look at me volunteering to host this baby shower and think, are you mad? Like, you've got 2 young kids. Why are you doing all this baking? Why are you making it from scratch? Just pay the money, do the food to order. But I just think it's really nice to make things homemade. And like, I'm not gonna lie, my husband has taken the kids out. I'm on my own, I'm baking cakes. It's actually a pretty chill time. I'm kind of loving it. I feel like I need to host an afternoon tea every weekend. So that's gonna go in the oven. And then, yeah, I'll leave it to cool and I will top it with some icing sugar tomorrow. So now the cake is in the oven, I'm going to check on my bagel dough. This one's looking good. So that dough has risen really nicely. That's looking good too. Now this is going to take me quite some time. I need to roll these into the bagel shape and pop them to rest. And then I will have a big session of boiling these. Now I am going to try and do them like mini bagels just because it will be part of a buffet. So this is going to take quite some time. It's not going to be the fastest of jobs, but it will be worth it in the end. I feel like I've spoken about these bagels quite a lot recently, but honestly, I'm really not good at making bread. And I wish I was, because I don't really like buying it. These bagels are just so easy to make and they come out so well from the freezer. I think a lot of bread that I've made in the past, when you defrost it, just goes a bit tough, whereas these just taste fantastic. And they're absolutely perfect once you've popped them in the toaster just to defrost them. So, so handy to have in. But I do think you have to boil them. I didn't used to boil them when I had a go at making them in the past, but I can see why you have to boil them now. I saw something really interesting online recently, that the amount of salt in pre-packaged sandwiches from the shops is significantly higher than if you had made them yourself at home. And I find that that is quite interesting when you're making bread, that you can control how much salt goes into the bread that you're making. And that's one of my motivations really for trying to make more of the bread that we eat at home. I do think I can hold my hands up and say I was put off by some failed bread attempts, but you know what, I think you've just got to find a recipe that works for you and then you're away. So I've just finished shaping my bagels. And as you can see, I have made quite a lot, but I've done this so that I've got some in the freezer. I think if you're going to commit to making bread or doing a big baking session, you might as well maximize and have some spare for you to have for the week ahead. So now I'm going to check on my brioche. We'll see how that's looking. Hopefully it is looking as good as the bagel dough did. Let's see. Wow, so that has risen a lot. Let's get it out and look at it. These plastic scrapers are so handy for getting dough out of the bowls without getting too sticky. They're also really useful for cleaning the worktop. After you finish, you get those like dried bits of dough on your worktop. And it's funny, when I first started making YouTube shorts and Instagram reels, I posted a reel where I was literally just scraping this on the worktop. And at the time, that got more views than any of the recipes I spent ages thinking about, trying to film, trying to make them look good. No, the thing that was most popular was me just scraping this on a worktop. Now, I will admit, I am a little bit worried about shaping this brioche, as in my head, I want them to look like those little sub rolls. I'm not very good at judging how much these rolls will grow in size in the oven. So I'm just gonna try my best, hope for the best, and hopefully these will turn out as I am expecting them to. When I was looking at the cost of ordering this food from Marks and Spencer's, I cannot believe how much they wanted for 9 filled brioche rolls. And I appreciate, obviously, it is quite a lot of effort to make these rolls yourself. But it's amazing the markup on these things for the convenience of not having to do it yourself. And I'm hoping by the end of this, I will have learned how to make brioche. I can pop that in my freezer in future as well. Right, so these brioche rolls are pretty much all shaped. So they just need to have their final proof before I get them ready to go into the oven. So the blueberry cake has come out of the oven. Let's have a look. It's looking good. I have decided I'm going to quickly get my scones made before I start on the bagels, because I've got quite a lot of bagels to boil. So I'm just bringing my scone dough together, and then I'm going to roll it out and cut into smaller pieces with my cutter. This is another one of those recipes though that can't get over how much scones are in the shop versus just making them yourself at home. And they taste so nice when they've been made fresh at home. Cut my scones out. Feel like I've reached a little bit of a pinch point here where there's quite a lot of things that are soon to be going into the oven that are all going to need watching. So I thought I'll just split the tasks up, get the scones out the way, and then I can focus on everything else. Now, yes, I could have made life easy for myself. I could have bought brioche rolls in the shops, and I could have just ordered the catered option, but I think this is a good way to save money and just add a slightly nicer touch to the party food. We've got quite a few children coming to this baby shower, which is going to be really fun. But it's quite nice knowing that I know what's gone into what we're feeding them. I was tempted to make some cheesy scones and make a little bit of chutney and serve them with kind of chutney and maybe a bit of brie. But then I thought, you know what? I'm already doing quite a lot of baking. I probably don't need to make 2 different types of scones. So now the scones have been cut out, I'm just going to pop them on my baking tray. And then I will give them a wash with a bit of milk. I need to pray to the baking gods that they rise. They don't stay this flat. Otherwise, they'll be like very fruity biscuits. So fingers crossed. The final step now is to just brush them with a bit of milk to make sure they have a nice colour. I feel like next time I make these would be quite a fun thing to get the kids involved with doing, because they're not too complicated to make. Our kids really like doing baking and getting involved in the kitchen. And I find with food that I want them to taste, they're way more likely to give it a go if they've made it. I once made these like little pizzas with our 3-year-old, and we put a bit of mackerel on the top of them. Or it might have been sardines, one of the two. and she just gobbled it up. We couldn't stop her. Hardly any of it made it onto the pizza. But if I'd have put that on her plate, there was absolutely no way she would have tried it. The trick doesn't always work, but when it does, so handy when you can get them to try new things. Right, these are now going to go into the oven. Gonna check on my brioche rolls now. So now all I need to do is just brush them with a bit of egg yolk, and then these will be ready to go into the oven. So I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on these when they go in, and I really hope these work. I've got high hopes for these rolls. The next step for the bagels is to boil them. And so I'm going to bring some water to the boil with a tablespoon of sugar dissolved in. Start to lower in the bagels. They need about 30 seconds on each side, and then they'll go on the tray, ready for their final seasoning before going in the oven. Turn each one. They do inflate a little in size when they're boiled. So I'll just drain them off a little bit and pop them on the tray. My scones have come out quite mini, which is handy, but yeah, these bagels are a little bit bigger than I was expecting them to be. So now I'm just going to do an egg wash on my bagels. Now look, they are not uniform in shape or in size, but that's fine. They're very much homemade bagels. And actually, when I was thinking about putting some videos on YouTube, I was a little bit worried because, you know, I am no professional chef. I am very much a home cook, and I like trying out different recipes, but they don't always work. It kind of shows you that it doesn't have to look perfect for it to still be really nice. And I often think when you've made something yourself, it just tastes so much nicer and know how you've made it. Okay, so toppings wise, I've got some nigella seeds, which I love using. I quite like using these in baking, so just think they just give quite a nice finish. The last time I made bagels, I made a savory seasoning to go on the top, and it was like a mix of garlic powder, onion powder, some of these seeds, some sesame seeds, and a little bit of salt. Oh, it's so good. So good. Right, and then on the others, I'm just going to put some sesame seeds. And these will now go in the oven until they're golden. My brioche had just come out. I am pretty pleased with how these look for a first attempt. They're looking pretty good. So the bread is mostly baked, and I'm going to start on the cheesecake. I really like this cheesecake because it's vegan and it's really tasty. It's got lots of really yummy ingredients in, and it's so easy to make. You just literally just chill it in the fridge, and the next day you've got a really tasty dessert. So the base of the cheesecake is sweetened by dates that I will have soaked in some boiling hot water. And then once they've had time to soak, I will combine them with the other base ingredients to make the bottom layer. Now, when I first made this cheesecake, I was actually really worried it was going to stick in the tin, but the base firmed up quite a lot in the fridge, and it was so tasty. I can't wait to eat this again. So I'm just going to pour some boiling water over the dates and just leave them to soak. Can't remember the last time I bought medjool dates and they were already this soft. So these are going to make an amazing snack. I'm quite glad I got some left, actually. But I will leave these now to soak and get on with making the rest of the base elements. So I've blitzed up some oats in my Thermomix, or you could do it in a food processor. Then I'm just going to add the peanut butter, and then I'm going to add in my dates. And then this will all get blended up. Then I'll press that into my dish. So that's it before, and I'll just go and blend it. So this is how it looks now. I am going to line this tray. Now this bit does take a bit of time because you want to make sure it's pressed down really flat into this dish. So the base has now been smoothed down and it's looking good. So that's now going to go into the fridge to chill. Next up, I'm going to pre-mix some homemade sausage rolls, and then I will just bake them tomorrow morning. These are pretty lazy sausage rolls. Yeah, it's literally just shop bought pastry and sausage meat. But I thought it would taste a bit fresher than just buying the packaged ones from the shop. Now, I am doing quite a lot of sausage rolls just because I think the kids are going to quite like these. And if our vegetarian friend had been coming, I probably would have made my butterbean and tomato puff pastry rolls because they are really nice. And they've got some olives in and some cheese. When you look at how much extra it is to buy like nice sausage rolls in the shop versus making them yourself, because you only normally get about 4 to 6 in a pack, the really nice ones. Whereas, as you can see, this is going to make quite a lot of sausage rolls and not for a very big cost ingredients wise. That is pretty even now, so I'm just going to fold them both over, press it down, and then I'll properly press it with my fork in a minute. And then tomorrow, before I bake them, I'm going to give them a little egg wash, and I will pop some nigella seeds on the top. Now all I need to do is slice them up and then pop them on my oven tray. Then they'll go in the fridge and I will bake them tomorrow morning. And I'll obviously repeat what I've just done for my second box of puff pastry. So the chia jam has had quite a long time in the fridge and is set. So this is now ready to go on top of the base. I find this works quite well in this cheesecake because it's quite a bitter topping with it being dark chocolate and cacao. I think the raspberry kind of cuts through it. Also, the layer beneath it does have quite a lot of peanut butter in it. I think the raspberry kind of breaks it up a bit in a nice way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this back into the fridge just to chill a little bit more before I pour the top layer onto it. Now I'm going to top the cheesecake with the most delicious topping. It's so tasty. And all it is some silken tofu blended with melted dark chocolate, bit of cacao powder, and some maple syrup. And this will set in the fridge, and it's so tasty. The last time I made this, no one believed me when I said it had tofu in it. You just would not guess. I think thanks to the dark chocolate, it does feel pretty indulgent when you're eating this. And the final thing I'm going to do with the cheesecake is just top with some flaked sea salt and some chopped pistachios. Do you know what? I am delighted with how this has turned out. I think my dairy-free friend is going to feel very special. So it is the morning of the baby shower, and I'm going to start preparing my sandwich fillers. So I've hard-boiled some eggs, which I've just sliced, mashed up with some cracked black pepper and some mayonnaise. And I will adapt this slightly for the adult version to give it a little bit of extra flavour. I've just made the base egg mayo for now. Now I'm going to slice into my brioche rolls and start assembling my sandwich platter. So I'm starting off with my Emmental cheese and my pulled ham rolls. And I'm so delighted with how these rolls have come out. The texture is so lovely. And with this ham and cheese inside, they're going to be really tasty. I've got a really big platter that I'm going to serve these on. And I've got some pickles from the fridge, a little bit of extra cheese and some rocket just to garnish it. And I think these are going to be really popular. I am so pleased with how these have turned out. And because the rolls are quite big, I am actually slicing them in half, just so that they're a little bit more bite-sized for people. I love the board that I'm putting these sandwiches on, as it's actually a Lazy Susan cheese board. And when I'm hosting like on wine evenings with my mum friends. That board is just so fun to have. The next thing that I am making is going to be some of my finger sandwiches. So I made some more plain finger sandwiches for the children, just so that the afternoon tea was adapted to them. And I've gone with some quite simple flavours in their sandwiches, and I popped them on their own special platter so that they felt that they could be part of the celebration without having some of the grown-up food. So they're having some ham in their sandwiches. And my kids especially were really excited about this because we don't really buy ham that much because it is ultra processed. And if we ever have ham, it's normally one that I've slow cooked. So they were very excited to have ham sandwiches. It felt like a real treat to them. And I used the 50/50 bread just so it looked a little bit less exotic than the granary bread that I used for the adult finger sandwiches. I love these little platters that I'm popping the kids' sandwiches on. I picked them up at a garden centre and they're just so handy for this sort of occasion. They make it look really professional. And yeah, I'm a sucker for buying things for the kitchen. I do have to refrain myself now because even though I do have a lot of cupboards, they are pretty full with all of the treats that I have bought. Next up, I'm going to make just some simple cheese sandwiches for the kids using the Emmental. And the Emmental cheese was actually really good value because you get so many slices in the pack. And it was just much faster than me grating cheese or slicing cheese by hand. It was perfect for this sort of occasion. Lastly, I have done the kids some simple egg mayonnaise sandwiches so that they have a similar selection to what the grown-ups will be enjoying. I've also made some finger sandwiches for my friend who is dairy-free at the moment. So she's got some ham and mayonnaise and egg mayo sandwiches. As sadly, these brioche buns have butter in them, so this time she's not able to enjoy them. Next up, I'm going to make the grown-up egg mayo sandwiches. And just to give it more of a grown-up flavour, I've added in some Dijon mustard. I quite like adding Dijon mustard to egg mayo. I think it makes it taste quite tangy. And a little bit of extra black pepper. When I used to work in London, sometimes I treat myself to this Pret breakfast baguette, and that's where I got the Dijon mustard idea from. I'm also jazzing it up with some chives, as when I was looking for inspiration, those M&S bagels I mentioned earlier had chive in them, and they looked really nice with the contrast with the egg. Just like the ham bagels, I've sliced these in half, as they are quite big portions otherwise, and these are going to look great on there. Little platter ready for the party. I'm now going to make my coronation chicken filled mini bagels, and I'm so pleased with how these have turned out. The bagels stayed really nice texture overnight, and I love the contrast of the nigella seeds on the top and the combination of the rocket and the coronation chicken. As with my other sandwiches, I sliced these in half just to make them more manageable. And I'm really pleased with how they have come together and how they look on this platter. And these were such a crowd pleaser. They didn't last long, the coronation chicken bagels. I'm also plating up my cake and dusting with some icing sugar. I love that that's all the decorating this cake needs. It just makes it so much easier on the day. And now I'm going to do the final stages for my sausage rolls. So I've simply washed them with a bit of egg yolk, and this will just give them a really nice golden colour when they bake. I'm then going to sprinkle some nigella seeds on the top, as I think this makes them look really special. And when you look at their equivalent on food to order at Sainsbury's, they look pretty similar to these, but obviously these are much more budget friendly than ordering them in from a food to order service. So my fridge is looking fantastic, packed to the brim of sandwiches, and I'm ready to do the last steps of preparation. So I'm going to slice up my vegan cheesecake and make it look really pretty. I was actually so delighted how many slices came off this thing and all the offcuts, because those leftovers went straight into my fridge and freezer. And me and my husband are going to enjoy many treats over the next few weeks when we defrost those little portions that I've saved for us. No one could believe that this cheesecake had tofu in the topping. And my dairy-free friend really, really loved it. Me and my husband couldn't resist trying a taste before the party started, and we were delighted with how it came out. Now for a quick clean-up and the final job, which was assembling a mountain of scones. So I don't know if I've done this the right way round. Some people like doing the jam first, some people like doing the cream. I'm going to put it out there and say I don't actually really like cream on the scones at all. I would rather just have jam. But I went with cream first, and then I put the jam on the top. Now for my scones, I went for 2 different types of jam just to make it a bit more exciting. So I did some with strawberry jam and some with raspberry jam. Originally, I was going to set it up like a fill your own scone station, but I'm actually quite glad that I did it like this because people could just pick a scone up and take it and pop it on their plate. And it was a lot better for serving the number of people that came to the baby shower. We did have quite a few of these left over, and the kids were very happy to have an extra scone on the side of their tea that night before they went to bed. I was worried about the height of these scones, but actually they were a little bit more bite-sized than what I had originally planned, and I think it worked really well for this celebration. I bought this cake stand, I would say at least 20 years ago, and I love any excuse to get it out and use it. It's such a nice way to present food. My sausage rolls have come out the oven now, and I am delighted with how they look. And after a quick taste test, they taste amazing. I'm so glad I had a go at making these myself, and I will definitely be doing this again in future. It was really, really easy. So the afternoon tea buffet is out, and I'm delighted with how it's turned out. I can't believe I made this for less than £5 a head, and everybody absolutely loved the food. Hopefully this has given you some inspiration on how you can create a menu like this at home instead of ordering in. And I promise you, the leftovers from this were so delicious, and the kids' lunchbox the next day was pretty special.